Welcome to the Sleepless Historian. If you enjoy this journey through time, please consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Remember to turn on loop so the calm can continue to envelop you. Now, let us take a moment to settle into a quiet space. Dim the lights. Breathe slowly and gently. Adjust your pillow or blanket, making sure you are cozy and comfortable. Allow your shoulders to relax, letting go of any tension. In siu daya isiu habdea in diwa. Today, we embark on an exploration of an often overlooked aspect of Roman governance, the art of quorum counting in the Senate. This may seem like a mundane topic, perhaps even exasperatingly dull. Yet, within this seemingly trivial practice lies a fascinating web of routine, measurement, and meticulous attention to detail. The Roman Senate, a collection of esteemed patricians, required a specific number of members to be present for decisions to be made. This number, known as a quorum, was vital for the legitimacy of their proceeding. Little by little, we will delve into the methods they employed to ensure this quorum was met. The process of counting senators was far from simple. It was a gentle dance of presence and absence, requiring keen observation and careful record-keeping. Slowly and gently, we will uncover the rituals surrounding this counting. Senators would arrive at the Curia, a place of assembly where they would settle into their seats. The counting would often begin in a methodical fashion, with scribes noting who was present and who was absent. The mechanics of this process, while routine, were essential for the functioning of the Senate. The whispers of the senators, the rustle of their togas, the quiet ticking of time as they awaited confirmation of their numbers, all were part of this dull yet critical exercise. As we explore this topic, let us embrace the calm and the quiet. Each detail will paint a picture of a world that prioritized order and discipline. Together, we will drift through the history of quorum counting, the mundane elevated to the gentle rhythm of everyday life. So, breathe deeply and relax. Allow yourself to be carried away by the soft currents of history as we begin our journey into the art of keeping track of who was present and who was not. As the senators settled into their seats, the atmosphere in the Curia was filled with a sense of routine. Each senator had their designated place, marked by the nature of their rank and the respect afforded to them. The seating arrangement was not merely a matter of choice, but a delicate orchestration, reflecting the hierarchy of Roman society. Senators of higher standing would take their seats closer to the front, while those of lesser rank would find themselves further back, quietly awaiting their turn in the ritual of governance. The act of counting began with the presiding official, often a consul or a senior senator, who would stand at the front, addressing the assembly. This act of leadership was, in itself, a ceremonial gesture, a display of authority over the proceedings. The official would call for silence, a gentle request that would ripple through the assembly, quieting the murmurs and rustlings of togas. The air would thicken with anticipation, a calm moment before the counting commenced. In preparation for this process, a scribe would be at hand, equipped with a stylus and a wax tablet. The stylus, a simple yet effective tool, had a pointed end for writing and a flat end for erasing. Wax tablets were commonly used in Roman times, allowing senators to record fleeting thoughts and official matters with ease. The scribe, with trained hands, would etch the names of senators onto the tablet, marking their presence as they were called. Slowly and gently, the names would be inscribed, each letter forming a connection to the identity of the senator and their role within the Senate. Anshen. Fee. The process of counting was not merely about numbers. It was also about the reverence shown to each individual's contribution. When a senator was absent, which was not uncommon, it was crucial to note the reason for their absence. This required a careful understanding of the protocols surrounding attendance. Senators were expected to provide justifications, often communicated through messages delivered by aides. These reasons could range from illness to personal obligations or even travel. As the presiding official called out each name, the scribe would record the responses. Present would echo softly from those in attendance, a chorus of voices affirming their place within the body politic. The consistency of these affirmations was essential, creating a rhythm that was both soothing and methodical. Each response solidified their connection to the Senate, reminding all present of their shared purpose. During the count, there were moments of stillness. The senators would breathe, perhaps adjusting their togas or straightening their seats. The gentle ambience of the curia, filled with the scent of olive oil lanterns, softly flickering, created an atmosphere that was both tranquil and focused. Senators would often carry small tokens of good luck or personal significance, perhaps a small coin or a charm, which they could hold on to during the proceedings. These items were not merely decorative, but served as reminders of their responsibilities and the history they carried with them. The counting process could take a considerable amount of time, especially if the Senate was particularly large, or if many senators were absent. It was not unusual for the count to extend beyond the hour. In such instances, the presiding official would often break the monotony with gentle reminders of patience, urging the assembly to remain calm as they awaited the final tally. "We shall know soon," they might say, their tone reassuring, echoing the importance of each senator's presence. Once the initial count was complete, the scribe would carefully review the names recorded on the wax tablet. This review was methodical, a slow and deliberate process, ensuring that no name was overlooked. The scribe would trace their fingers over the names, feeling the slight indentations left by the stylus. Each name represented not just a senator, but a voice, a vote, a piece of history. Should there be any discrepancies, the presiding official would call for a recount. This was a solemn duty, one that required the full attention of the Senate. Senators would occasionally find themselves engaged in soft discussions during this time, whispering amongst themselves or consulting with aides. The atmosphere remained composed, but there was an underlying current of anticipation. 9. The senators understood the importance of their presence. Each one played a part in the greater mechanism of governance. The quorum, the minimum number of senators required to conduct official business, was a sacred number. If the quorum was not met, discussions would stall, and decisions would remain unmade. This understanding created a sense of camaraderie among senators, a shared commitment to fulfilling their roles. In cases where the quorum was not reached, the presiding official would announce the adjournment of the session. This was often met with a collective sigh, a gentle acknowledgement of the effort exerted to gather and count. Senators would rise from their seats, slowly and gently, gathering their belongings, preparing to depart. The scribe, too, would carefully erase names from the tablet, preserving only those who had been present that day. The wax tablet was a marvel of practicality, easily transportable and reusable. Scribes would often store their tablets in leather pouches, carefully protecting them from wear and tear. The importance of record-keeping could not be overstated. Without accurate records, the very fabric of governance would unravel. As the senators made their way out of the Curia, they would often pause to discuss the day's matters. These conversations, while mundane, were essential for building relationships and collaborations. Senators would exchange pleasantries, perhaps sharing a light meal or a cup of wine as they reflected on their duties. Aren't she? Such gatherings, though informal, were rooted in etiquette and tradition. Senators were expected to engage in courteous conversation, to listen as much as they spoke. This exchange of ideas often led to future collaborations, creating a network of influence and respect. The act of counting senators, while seemingly tedious, represented a cornerstone of Roman governance. It was a ritual, a methodical practice that ensured the continuity of the Senate's operations. Little by little, the numbers would reveal themselves, creating a tapestry of attendance woven through time. Each session, each count, was a note in the grand symphony of Roman history, echoing through the ages. As we sit here, absorbing the details of this practice, let us breathe deeply and relax. Feel the weight of history settle around us, a gentle reminder of the lives that have passed through these rituals. The counting of senators, the quiet affirmations of presence, all working together to shape the course of governance. Each detail we explore brings us closer to understanding the rhythm of the past, the heartbeat of a civilization that valued order, presence, and participation. As we immerse ourselves further into the mundane yet intricate world of Roman Senate quorum counting, we begin to appreciate the tools and materials that were essential to this delicate task. The senators did not rely on modern conveniences. Instead, they employed simple yet effective methods to ensure accuracy in their counts. At the heart of this practice was the use of a small tablet, known as a wax tablet. These tablets were made from thin wooden frames filled with a layer of wax. Senators would inscribe their names or marks using a stylus, a pointed tool often made of metal or bone. The stylus would leave a clear impression in the wax, allowing for easy reading. Each senator would carry their tablet to the Senate meeting, ready to mark their presence. The act of inscribing their name was not merely a formality. It was an assertion of their participation. Little by little, as names were marked, a sense of accountability emerged. The tablets were portable and lightweight, perfect for the senators who often moved about the city, attending various gatherings and discussions. Once the meeting began, the presiding officer, typically a consul or a praetor, would initiate the counting process. This involved a careful and methodical examination of the tablets. Senators would be called upon to acknowledge their presence, often in a soft and measured voice. The presiding officer would then tally the marks on each tablet, counting slowly, ensuring accuracy. At this point, we can take a moment to breathe deeply, inhaling the essence of this ancient practice, and exhaling any distractions. The atmosphere in the Senate chamber was one of solemnity, marked by the soft rustling of scrolls and the gentle sounds of styluses against wax. Nice. In addition to the tablets, there was another tool used to assist in the counting, an abacus. This ancient counting device, made of wood or metal, comprised a series of rods or wires strung with beads. Each bead represented a number, and senators would often use the abacus to keep track of attendance across multiple meetings. The rhythmic sliding of the beads would create a soothing sound, much like a lullaby for those present, gently guiding their focus back to the task at hand. The process of counting was not rushed. Senators understood the importance of each presence. They would often wait patiently, as names were called, allowing time for quiet reflection. The presiding officer would articulate each senator's name clearly, creating a rhythmic cadence that echoed throughout the chamber. Each name called was a small affirmation of identity and belonging, contributing to the greater whole of governance. The counting itself could take time. A session might last anywhere from a few minutes to an hour, depending on the number of senators present. Each count was conducted with a steady hand, reflecting the importance of the moment. As attendance was confirmed, the presiding officer would mark the count upon the abacus, recording the numbers meticulously. When a senator was absent, it was customary to note the reason for their absence. This could range from personal matters to official duties elsewhere. A small scroll might be produced, detailing these absences, allowing the Senate to remain informed. This attention to detail ensured that no senator was forgotten, that each individual mattered. As the counting progressed, the atmosphere within the chamber remained calm. Senators would often engage in quiet conversations, discussing matters of state with their neighbors. These exchanges, though gentle, were filled with purpose. The room hummed softly with the exchange of ideas, bringing a sense of continuity and connection. After the count was completed, the presiding officer would announce the total number of senators present. This announcement was delivered in a calm, measured tone. Senators would nod in acknowledgement, a soft murmur of agreement rippling through the chamber. The total count would then be recorded in the official Senate records, marking the attendance for that session. The official records were kept in a central location, often within the Senate House itself. These records were not merely a list of names. They represented the collective engagement of the senators. They were preserved on papyrus scrolls, carefully rolled and stored in wooden cabinets. The scrolls contained not only attendance, but also notes on discussions and decisions made during each session. As we reflect on these practices, let us take another deep breath, allowing the weight of history to envelop us. Picture the scrolls, the wax tablets, the abacus, each a small fragment of the larger picture of governance. The attendance records were crucial for future sessions. Senators would often refer back to these documents to remind themselves of who was present during critical discussions. The meticulous nature of this record-keeping ensured that no senator's voice would be lost to time. The echoes of their presence resonated within the walls of the Senate, a testament to their commitment to public service. The rituals surrounding quorum counting extended beyond mere numbers. There were unspoken rules of etiquette that governed how senators interacted during these moments. For instance, it was considered impolite to interrupt the counting process. Senators would often remain silent, their focus directed toward the presiding officer. This respect for the process was a reflection of their understanding of the importance of order in governance. In some instances, a senator might arrive late to a session. In such cases, it was customary for them to quietly take their seat without drawing attention. The act of settling in was done with care, to avoid disrupting the ongoing proceedings. Senators understood that their presence mattered, yet the integrity of the process was held in higher regard. In the quieter moments, as senators awaited their names to be called, they would often engage in soft contemplation. The flickering light from oil lamps would dance upon their faces, illuminating the gentle expressions of focus and thoughtfulness. Each senator, in their own way, participated in a shared experience. one that transcended the mundane act of counting. The counting of senators thus became a ritualistic performance, a gentle dance of presence that echoed through the annals of history. The slow procession of names, the careful tallying of marks, and the quiet respect for the process created a soothing rhythm. Each phrase repeated, each number counted, slowly weaving a narrative of governance that would stand the test of time. And Sean, as we delve deeper into this exploration, let us rest in the quietude of these moments, allowing ourselves to be cradled by the tranquility of the past. Each senator, each count, each detail, all gently guiding us toward a deeper understanding of a civilization that valued order and participation. Breathe slowly and gently. Embrace the calm. In this serene exploration, we will immerse ourselves in the tranquil minutiae of the Roman Senate's quorum counting. Picture, if you will, the grand hall where these dignified senators gathered. The air was filled with a subtle aroma of olive oil, mingling with the scents of parchment and wax. Shelves lined with scrolls and tablets held the records of governance, a testament to the bureaucracy of an empire. As the senators began to arrive, they would take their designated places. Each senator was assigned a specific seat, a small detail that ensured order. The layout of the Senate chamber was intentional. Rows of benches, crafted from polished wood, were arranged in a semicircle. This arrangement allowed for easy visibility, facilitating gentle conversations, yet it also aided in the counting process. The process of counting began with the calling of names, a simple yet methodical affair. A designated official, often referred to as the censor, would stand at a central point. With a wax tablet in hand, he would read aloud from a list. The soft sound of his voice would ripple through the chamber, each name echoing softly against the stone walls. As each senator's name was called, a subtle motion would unfold. Senators would respond by raising their hands, a gesture both respectful and practical. The censor, with a keen eye, would mark their presence with a small stroke on the wax tablet. This was a simple tool, yet it served a vital purpose. Each mark represented a senator, a piece of the greater governance puzzle. The wax tablet itself was a fascinating object. It was crafted from a thin layer of wood, coated with wax, allowing for easy writing and erasing. The senators would often find comfort in the familiar texture, the gentle warmth of the wax beneath their fingers. The tools of their trade were simple, yet they held the weight of responsibility. Once the names were called, the censor would pause, allowing the senators a moment to settle into their surroundings. This pause, a brief interlude, allowed for reflection. Senators would gently adjust their togas, ensuring that the fabric draped appropriately over their shoulders. The togas, made from fine wool, were often white, symbolizing purity and duty. As the counting continued, silence would envelop the chamber, punctuated only by the soft rustle of scrolls. Senators would often engage in quiet discussions, their voices barely above a whisper, creating a gentle hum. This was a time for camaraderie, a subtle exchange of thoughts and ideas, nurturing the bonds of governance. The meticulousness of the counting process demanded patience. The censor would move methodically through the list, ensuring accuracy with each tick of the stylus against the wax. Each mark was deliberate, each stroke filled with purpose. Little by little, the tally grew. Slowly, the numbers climbed higher. The atmosphere in the chamber during this time was serene, almost meditative. Senators would take a moment to breathe deeply, feeling the weight of their responsibilities. The act of counting was not merely a procedural task, it was a grounding ritual. Once the names had all been called, the censor would turn his attention to the tally. With a practiced hand, he would count the marks on the tablet. Each grouping of 5 was a small triumph, a sign of order amidst the complexity of governance. Senators would lean forward slightly. Their interest peaked, yet the overall tone remained calm and collected. In this moment of clarity, the censor would announce the total number present. His voice would resonate gently, carrying through the air like a soft breeze. The senators would nod in acknowledgement, validating the count with a shared sense of responsibility. The gathering was more than just a formality. It was a dance of presence. Each senator brought their own experiences, thoughts, and expectations. Yet, in this space, they were united. The act of counting was a reminder of their shared purpose, a gentle call to duty. As the session progressed, the wax tablet would be carefully stored away, a record of the day's attendance. The censor, with great care, would place it alongside the others, each tablet a testament to the ongoing legacy of the Senate. These tablets would accumulate over time, a physical archive of governance. Each mark served as a reminder of participation, each record a snapshot of history. The process of counting, while seemingly mundane, was infused with layers of meaning. The senators understood the importance of their presence, yet they also recognized the effort behind the scenes. The scribes, often working tirelessly, would transcribe the proceedings from the wax tablets onto permanent scrolls. This delicate transfer required a steady hand and a keen eye, as the scribes worked to preserve the essence of each gathering. No, the scrolls themselves were crafted from papyrus, a material that held significance in the ancient world. Each scroll was meticulously rolled, the edges neatly trimmed, creating a uniform appearance. The ink used for writing was derived from natural sources, a careful mixture that provided a deep, rich color. Each letter formed upon the scroll was a piece of history, a mark of civilization. As we reflect on this process of counting, let us take a moment to appreciate the gentle flow of ink on papyrus, the slow, methodical movements of scribes, the soft rustle of scrolls being unfurled, all contribute to the larger tapestry of governance. Each detail, though small, held a place in the grand narrative of Roman history. And so, as the senators continued their deliberations, the echoes of their presence remained. Each mark, each name, each moment of counted attendance became part of the legacy. Little by little, they crafted a history that would endure. A history rooted in the simple act of gathering and counting, reminding us of the importance of presence in the fabric of society. Breathe slowly and gently. Embrace the calm. Allow the tranquility of the Senate chamber to envelop you as we ponder the quiet significance of each gathering, each count, and each record. As the senators settled into their seats, they prepared for what would often become a lengthy session of attendance counting. The room itself was a sanctuary of stone and marble, with the soft glow of oil lamps casting a gentle light. The air carried the faint scent of olive oil, mingling with the mustiness of ancient scrolls and the subtle warmth of human presence. Oh, Erini. The presiding officer, often a figure of great experience, would take a moment to gather the necessary tools for this significant task. A simple wooden lectern stood at the front, polished to a sheen from years of use. Upon this lectern rested a carefully crafted ink pot made of clay, its surface adorned with delicate patterns. The ink pot contained a viscous black liquid made from the soot of burnt wood mixed with water, creating a blend that flowed smoothly from the nib of a reed pen. The reed pen, a humble yet essential tool, was cut at an angle, allowing a fine point to deliver the ink precisely onto the scroll. The senators, each in their designated seat, would take a moment to familiarize themselves with their surroundings, ensuring that they were settled comfortably. Wooden benches, though sturdy, could be uncomfortable for extended periods, and so it was common to see senators adjust their posture, shifting slightly to find a more agreeable position. Once the presiding officer felt prepared, a gentle tapping of the gavel would signal the beginning of the attendance count. This sound, though soft, echoed through the chamber, prompting senators to still their movements and focus on the task at hand. With a calm and steady voice, the presiding officer would announce the commencement of the roll call. The first senator, often the most senior, would be called by name. Each name, each title was pronounced with care, the syllables flowing slowly, reverberating within the stone walls. The senators, one by one, would respond with a simple acknowledgement, perhaps a nod or a soft adsum, meaning, "I am present." This ritual was as much about participation as it was about recognition, a moment to reaffirm their role within the Senate. It was you. And each response was noted on the scroll, the presiding officer's hand gliding effortlessly across the surface as he inscribed the names. The ink would absorb into the fibers of the scroll, darkening slightly as it dried. The roll call itself was a process that took time, with each senator's name carefully recorded, ensuring accuracy in attendance. The rhythmic sound of the pen on papyrus created a soothing backdrop, a gentle reminder of the importance of each individual's presence. As the roll continued, the senators adopted a quiet demeanor. Some would rest their heads gently against the cool stone wall, closing their eyes momentarily, letting the sound of their colleagues' names wash over them. Others might engage in small gestures, perhaps adjusting their togas or smoothing their hair. The fabric of their garments, made from fine wool, draped elegantly over their forms, a symbol of their status and tradition. The presiding officer continued with the counting, moving methodically from one name to the next. Senators, who were not present, would be marked with a simple dash, a silent acknowledgement of their absence. This marking was important, as it would reflect on the records, providing insight into the participation of senators over time. Each absence was a detail that would be noted, contributing to the understanding of political engagement. Then, the materials used in this counting process were equally significant. The scrolls themselves were made from papyrus, harvested from the banks of the Nile. This plant, thinly sliced and layered, was pressed and dried to create a smooth surface. Each piece of papyrus was approximately 20 inches in width and could stretch to lengths of several feet, allowing ample space for records. The cost of papyrus varied, but it was valued for its quality. A single scroll could fetch a price equivalent to several days' wages for a skilled worker. Once the roll call was complete, the presiding officer would take a moment to recalculate the names, ensuring that the count was accurate. This process involved a gentle tapping of the fingers against the wooden lectern, a calm rhythm that accompanied the quiet atmosphere. Senators would watch attentively, some still in a state of restful contemplation as the final tally was prepared. In the chambers, the presence of the scribes was felt, their roles critical yet understated. They stood at the ready, prepared to assist in documenting any additional notes or decisions that might arise as the session continued. The scribes used a similar set of tools, with inkpots and reed pens poised for action, awaiting the moment when their expertise would be called upon. As the presiding officer concluded the counting, a soft sigh would ripple through the room. Senators would shift in their seats, perhaps letting out a quiet breath as they settled into the next phase of their gathering. The roll call was but a prelude, a necessary step that established the foundation of their discussions. Now, with the attendance confirmed, the presiding officer would transition smoothly into the next order of business. They would lift the scroll, displaying it subtly for all to see, ensuring that everyone was aware of the recorded attendance. This act reinforced the sense of community and shared responsibility within the Senate chamber. As the discussion began, the senators maintained a gentle energy, their voices low and measured. The topics varied, from mundane administrative tasks to the complexities of governance. Each senator would take turns speaking, their words carefully chosen, contributing to the ongoing narrative of Roman political life. Every so often, the presiding officer would pause, allowing the senators to reflect on points raised. This silence was revered, an opportunity for contemplation and consideration. The soft murmurs of agreement or reflection would occasionally break through the quiet, but for the most part, it remained a space of calm introspection. The atmosphere in the chamber, illuminated by the flickering light of the oil lamps, created a cozy setting for these deliberations. The gentle hum of voices blended with the soft scratching of pens on parchment, lulling those in attendance into a tranquil rhythm of governance. Breathe slowly and gently. Embrace the calm that envelops this ancient space. Allow the steady flow of history to wash over you as we reflect on the simple yet profound act of gathering and counting. Each presence, each absence, echoes through time, leaving behind a legacy of participation and community. To facilitate the gathering of senators, a system was established, though seemingly tedious in its execution. Each senator was expected to arrive at the Curia, the meeting place of the Senate, at a specific time. The gentle chime of a small bronze bell would signal the beginning of these sessions. The sound would resonate softly through the air, a gentle reminder of the importance of punctuality. Senators would arrive in their togas, draped elegantly around their bodies, signaling their status and role within the assembly. As they entered, they would be greeted by attendants, often young boys or slaves, whose duty was to assist in preparing the chamber for the day's proceedings. These attendants carried with them small wax tablets and styluses, essential tools for recording attendance, votes, and decisions made during the sessions. The tablets themselves were made of a thin layer of wax, encased in wooden frames. The styluses, pointed at one end, would leave a delicate mark upon the surface of the wax, easily erasable with a simple stroke, allowing for repeated use. Once all were gathered, the presiding consul would begin the process of counting. This counting was not merely a matter of accounting for bodies, but rather it was an art form. The senators, seated in a semicircle, would be observed closely. The consul would call out names, one by one, a soft and rhythmic roll call that echoed through the chamber. Each name, pronounced with care, would elicit a nod or a slight raise of the hand from the senator in question, confirming their presence. No, This process, though seemingly simple, required a great deal of attention and precision. The consul would often repeat names, ensuring that no senator was overlooked in the gathering. This repetition served not only to confirm attendance, but also to reinforce the bonds among the senators, each acknowledging the other's presence. Slowly and gently, the count would increase, moving from a mere handful of attendees to a full assembly, where the voices would rise softly, creating a tapestry of murmurs in the air. As the counting progressed, the attendants would jot down the names on their wax tablets, keeping meticulous records of who was present and who was absent. Each name recorded was a gentle reminder of the collective responsibility that weighed upon their shoulders. The tablets would be stored carefully after each session, stacked neatly in a designated area of the curia to be referenced in future deliberations. Fine. In the event that a senator was absent, the reasons were often documented as well, noted on the same tablets. This could include illness, travel, or personal matters that required their attention. Each absence was treated with respect and understanding, every senator's presence valued in the ongoing discussions of governance. Though the process of attendance was not merely a formality. It was deeply woven into the fabric of Roman political life. The threshold for quorum, the minimum number of senators required to conduct business, was a vital aspect of these gatherings. This number, traditionally set at 60, ensured that decisions were made with a substantial consensus, reflecting the will of the broader body. If the quorum was not reached, discussions would often yield to a quiet stasis, with the senators lingering in their seats, engaged in soft conversations amongst themselves, waiting patiently for others to arrive. The soft light from the oil lamps would flicker gently, casting a calming glow upon their faces. This waiting period, though sometimes heavy with anticipation, also provided moments for reflection and connection. Senators would discuss matters of personal interest, share news from their provinces, or engage in light-hearted banter, all while maintaining an air of decorum and respect. The counting of senators transformed into a sort of rhythm, a lullaby of attendance that eased into the daily life of the Roman Senate. Senators would lean back in their wooden chairs, hands resting lightly on their knees, shoulders relaxing, as they waited for the gathering to complete. Each presence felt significant, as if their very being contributed to the pulse of Roman governance. When the quorum was finally met, a subtle shift would occur in the atmosphere. The consul would note the final count, a quiet satisfaction settling over the chamber. The proceedings would then transition smoothly into discussions, debates, and decision-making, all grounded in the knowledge that a true representation of the Senate was present. The soft sounds of parchment being unfurled, the gentle scratching of styluses on wax, and the low hum of voices would envelop the chamber in a warm embrace of productivity. Whoa! This counting ritual, while seemingly mundane, was essential to the operation of the Senate. The senators, each a thread in the intricate weave of governance, played their part in this dance of democracy. They would come to know each other's habits, often arriving at predictable times, allowing for a gentle ebb and flow of attendance. In the answer, as the day wore on, the discussions would unfold meticulously, with each senator contributing their thoughts on matters of state. The presiding officer would guide the flow of conversation, ensuring that everyone had a chance to be heard. Between discussions, there would be moments of quiet reflection, allowing thoughts to settle, allowing ideas to marinate. During these pauses, the senators would often take a moment to breathe deeply, inhaling the sweet scent of olive oil burning in the lamps, mingling with the faint aroma of the wax tablets. This environment steeped in rich history, provided a perfect backdrop for the art of governance. The counting of senators, while simple in its execution, served as a reminder of their shared responsibility. The act of gathering was a profound expression of commitment, a promise to engage with the collective challenges faced by the Roman state. Each senator's attendance was a nod to their duty, a soft echo of their participation in an age-old tradition. And so, the days passed, one session blending into the next, with each gathering carefully counted, each presence cherished. The rhythm of the Senate continued, a gentle tide of voices, deliberation, and governance, allowing the stories of Rome to unfold, little by little, slowly and gently, echoing through the chambers of history. As the day came to a close, the senators would rise, their discussions tapering off into soft murmurs. The attendance would be recorded once more, the wax tablets storing the day's deliberations, sealing them within the wooden frames, a testament to their gathering. The exits would be as quiet as the entrances, senators drifting away one by one into the streets of Rome, leaving behind the whispers of governance, the gentle rhythm of the Senate echoing softly in their minds. As the senators departed the Senate, the wax tablets used for recording attendance were gathered. Each tablet was inscribed with a stylus, a simple tool made of wood or ivory. The stylus would glide across the wax surface, leaving behind impressions that captured the names of those present. The tablets were stored in wooden boxes, carefully crafted to ensure their longevity. These boxes were often lined with soft cloth to protect the tablets from scratches and moisture. The tablets served a dual purpose, both for attendance and for documenting the discussions that unfolded. Each tablet was typically about the size of a modern-day notepad, perhaps measuring 8 inches by 12 inches, allowing ample space for the neat, organized rows of names. The senators, accustomed to this simple ritual, would often take turns in the task of inscribing the names, ensuring that every presence was acknowledged. Indeed, each name would be recorded in a precise order, often alphabetically or by the seniority of the senators. This method not only made it easier to find specific names, but also fostered a sense of respect for age and experience. The act of recording attendance, while seemingly mundane, was a vital component of maintaining order in the proceedings. After the tablets were inscribed, the Senate would take a brief moment to review the names. Senators would lean over the tablets, their eyes scanning the rows of letters, soft murmurs of discussion filling the air as they ensured that no one had been overlooked. This review process, lasting only a few minutes, was essential for the integrity of the assembly. The senators understood that each absence could signify a shift in political balance, a delicate dance of power and influence. Once the attendance was confirmed, the tablets would be carefully stacked, one atop the other, organized by session date. This organization allowed for easy reference in future gatherings. The tablets, with their neat rows of names, became a historical record, a quiet witness to the passage of time, reflecting the ebb and flow of participation, little by little, slowly and gently. As the senators left, the sound of their sandals on the stone floors faded, replaced by the soft rustling of the clerks who remained behind. These clerks played a crucial role in the Senate, responsible for the maintenance of order and the safeguarding of records. Tasked with the archiving of the wax tablets, they would carefully place each one into its designated storage space, ensuring that the history of each session was preserved. The storage areas were often cool and dimly lit, creating a serene environment conducive to contemplation. The clerks would light oil lamps, the soft glow illuminating the shelves lined with scrolls and tablets. Each scroll contained detailed accounts of debates, discussions, and decisions made within the Senate. These scrolls, made of papyrus or parchment, were stored in cylindrical containers, protecting them from damage. The clerks would work methodically, rolling each scroll with gentle hands, their fingers brushing against the delicate fibers of the document. They understood the importance of their task, for within these scrolls lay the essence of Roman governance. The careful rolling and securing of each scroll was a ritual performed with reverence, a slow and gentle dance between the past and the present. Ew, Bandi, away. In the quiet of the storage room, the clerks would often pause between their tasks, taking a moment to breathe deeply. The air was filled with the faint scent of melting wax and the dry parchment, a soothing reminder of the work they undertook. They would often remind themselves to move slowly, to be patient, for the preservation of history was a delicate affair, a sacred duty that required attentive care. Once all tablets and scrolls were secured, the clerks would gather in a small circle to discuss the day's events. Their conversations were soft and measured, reflecting on the proceedings, the nuances of attendance, and the dynamics within the chamber. Topics would drift, touching upon the senators' behaviors, their alliances, and the subtle shifts in the political landscape. Is she? This circle of clerks, often consisting of young men eager to learn from their elders, would engage in gentle debate about the implications of each absence. They would carefully consider how the absence of a senior senator might indicate a potential shift in loyalty, a quiet but profound ripple in the fabric of governance. The discussions would unfold slowly, with pauses to allow thoughts to settle. Each clerk would take turns sharing their observations, their voices barely rising above a whisper, as if the very air around them demanded respect for the gravity of their reflections. Meanwhile, back in the Senate chambers, preparations for the next meeting would begin. The marble tables would be wiped clean, the faint echo of cloth against stone resonating in the hushed space. The positioning of the chairs was a meticulous task, ensuring that each senator had a clear line of sight to the center of the room, where the presiding officer would sit. This arrangement promoted attentiveness, allowing each senator to engage fully in the discussions to come. The chairs themselves were simple, crafted from sturdy wood with padded seats. They were arranged in a semicircle, a formation that fostered a sense of community and dialogue. Each chair could accommodate an average height of about 5 feet 5 inches, with a seat height of approximately 18 inches, making it comfortable for senators to lean back and reflect on the proceedings. As the days passed, the routine of gathering continued. The clerks would rise early, just before dawn, to prepare for the day ahead. They would arrive at the Senate, their footsteps echoing softly in the quiet halls. The sun would gradually illuminate the stone walls, casting gentle shadows across the chamber. The senators, too, would follow a similar routine, often arriving shortly after the clerks. Their mornings began with a light breakfast of bread, olives, and perhaps a sip of watered wine. This simple meal would fuel their thoughts as they made their way to the Senate, the atmosphere alive with the anticipation of discussions yet to unfold. Upon arrival, senators would greet one another with nods and soft words. It was a ritual of acknowledgement, a gentle reconnection that reminded them of their shared purpose. Each senator would find their seat, settling in, adjusting their togas, and preparing for the day's deliberations. And then, the counting would begin once more. The presiding officer, calm and composed, would call for attendance, the ritual echoing through the chamber. The senators would respond in turn, their names resonating softly, a gentle symphony of voices confirming their presence. Oh. The counting process, while straightforward, held deeper meaning. Each senator's presence signified not just their physical attendance, but their commitment to the Republic. Slowly and gently, the act of counting became a meditation on duty and responsibility, a reminder of the bonds that held them together. As the day wore on, the discussions would ebb and flow. The rhythm of debate, a soothing cadence. The wax tablets would bear witness to each moment, every name a thread woven into the rich tapestry of Roman governance. And in that quiet chamber, the echoes of history would resonate softly, little by little. As senators engaged in the profound art of deliberation, their shared purpose guiding them forward. And so, the mundane rhythms of the Senate continued, a gentle reminder of the importance of presence, duty, and the delicate art of governance. The counting of senators was but a small thread in the larger fabric of history, yet it held within it the essence of responsibility, community, and the promise of democracy. As the senators settled into their seats, the air in the chamber was filled with a sense of calm anticipation. The tools of their trade lay before them, simple yet essential. Each senator had a wax tablet, a smooth surface, perfect for inscribing their thoughts and observations. The tablets were made from thin sheets of wood, carefully covered in a layer of wax, allowing for easy writing and erasing. The stylus, a pointed instrument, was the tool of choice for recording discussions. Its end was carefully shaped to create clear, legible markings upon the waxy surface. Each senator in their own time would etch their name, their opinions, and their insights into the tablets, creating a personal record of their contributions. The counting of senators was not merely an act of attendance. It was a ritual of community, requiring precise adherence to established procedures. The presiding officer, often a distinguished elder, would call for the counts, their voice resonating gently through the chamber. The officers would stand, one for each group of senators, and begin the careful counting process. Each senator, when their name was called, would rise slowly, acknowledging the call with a slight nod. The presiding officer would note each raised hand, a simple gesture that conveyed so much. The senators were often divided into their respective factions, each group representing various interests and regions of the Republic. The counting of these factions was a meticulous task, requiring both patience and diligence. Each faction had its own space within the chamber, marked by subtle distinctions in seating arrangements. The arrangement allowed for easy identification and a fluid counting process. The presiding officer, with a steady gaze, would move through the factions, calling out the names in a rhythmic pattern, ensuring that all were accounted for. And as the counting commenced, the senators engaged in a silent dance of presence. The act of raising their hands was not hasty. Each senator took a moment, a breath, to absorb the atmosphere around them. The gentle rustle of tunics, the soft shuffling of sandals upon the cool stone floor, all added to the calming ambience. There was a serenity in the ritual, a reminder of their shared purpose. Once the names were counted, the presiding officer would turn to the tablets, utilizing a small ink pot to record the findings. The ink, made from a mixture of soot and water, was poured carefully into a tiny vessel, a delicate process that required a steady hand. The officer would dip the stylus into the inky liquid, the tip glistening for a brief moment. With care, they would inscribe the number of present senators beside the date of the gathering, a permanent record of attendance. The act of writing was slow and deliberate, a calming exercise. Each stroke of the stylus was measured, the ink absorbing into the wax, creating a lasting testament to the Senate's deliberations. The officers, skilled in their craft, would often take a moment to reflect as they wrote, their minds drifting gently through the implications of the numbers. In law, the counting ritual was typically repeated multiple times throughout the day, a ritual that brought a sense of structure to the proceedings. Each count would take several minutes, a measured pace that allowed for the senators to gather their thoughts and engage with one another. During these pauses, the senators would often lean into quiet conversations or simply gaze thoughtfully at their tablets, reflecting on the matters at hand. And so, little by little, the day would unfold. The senators would engage in discussions, the hum of their voices blending into a soothing symphony. The counting, repeated with gentle regularity, served as a calming backdrop to their deliberations. Each count felt like a gentle wave washing over the chamber, bringing with it a sense of continuity and calm. Occasionally, a senator might be absent, perhaps due to travel or illness. In such instances, the counting took on a different tone. The presiding officer would note the absence with a furrowed brow, acknowledging the empty seat with a soft sigh. The absent senators were often discussed, their contributions missed but remembered fondly. The counting of those present became a solemn reminder of the bonds that tied them together, even in absence. The wax tablets, filled with names and numbers, would be stored at the close of each session. These tablets were kept within wooden chests, carefully crafted to protect their contents. The chests were often adorned with simple carvings, designs that reflected the values of the Republic. When the session concluded, the officers would pack the tablets away, each one a vessel of memory, holding within it the echoes of debate and deliberation. The storage of these tablets was treated with great care. The chests were kept in a designated area of the Senate building, a quiet nook where they could rest undisturbed. The officers responsible for the storage would use soft cloths to gently clean the tablets, ensuring that the wax remained smooth and unblemished. This attention to detail reflected the reverence held for the records of governance. The small rituals that surrounded the act of counting, preserving the integrity of their work. No. As the days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, the tablets would accumulate, creating a record of the Senate's history. Each count, each name, became part of a larger narrative, a soothing tapestry of governance. It was in these mundane details that the essence of the Republic was captured, little by little, a collection of moments that spoke of duty, commitment, and the quiet strength of community. In Hathoi. The counting process, while seemingly trivial, was imbued with significance. The senators understood that their presence was a vital part of the Republic's lifeblood. The gentle act of raising a hand, the soft sound of names echoed through the chamber, all contributed to a sense of belonging. The mundane became meaningful, as the echoes of their voices intertwined with the very fabric of history. And here, and as the sun began to set outside, casting a warm glow through the chamber, the senators would engage in one last count before adjourning for the day. The presiding officer's voice, soft and steady, would cut through the fading light, calling each senator's name with care. The gentle rise of hands would fill the chamber, a final affirmation of presence before the day came to a close. Man, anyway, den, and show, di, chaos. Now, each count would be recorded, the numbers carefully noted, signifying not just attendance, but the resilience of the Senate. As the last name was called, the officers would close their tablets, the gentle clatter of wood against wood a comforting sound. They would pack away their tools, the stylus resting beside the wax tablets, ready for the next gather. In that quiet moment, as the chamber settled into stillness, the senators would reflect on the day's discussions. The counting of their presence had been a reminder of their shared purpose, a gentle exploration of the art of governance. Little by little, they had woven a thread of continuity through the fabric of history, the echoes of their presence resonating softly in the halls of time. As the senators settled into their seats, the atmosphere within the chamber would shift into a serene hum, a rhythm of gentle anticipation. The air was scented with the faint trace of oils used on the wooden benches, a reminder of the countless discussions held under the grand arches of the Senate. The presiding officer, with a calm demeanor, would prepare to initiate the process of quorum counting, an essential yet often overlooked aspect of their daily routine. Each senator would be seated on a simple wooden bench, crafted from oak, the smooth finish glistening in the soft light. The benches were spaced in a manner that allowed for both comfort and accessibility. The senators wore togas, a traditional garment that draped elegantly, its folds a symbol of their esteemed status. The fabric was made from fine wool, dyed in shades of white or cream, often adorned with a subtle purple stripe, indicating rank and importance within the Senate. Doningori. To commence the counting process, the presiding officer would gently tap a small wooden gavel against the surface of the podium, a signal for silence. This gavel, a simple yet effective tool, was often kept on a small cushion, ensuring it remained undamaged and easily accessible. The sound reverberated softly, creating an inviting space for the senators to focus on the matter at hand. The officer would then begin the roll call, a methodical approach to ensure every senator's presence was acknowledged. He would hold a wax tablet, a flat piece of wood coated with a thin layer of wax, and a stylus, a slender tool made from metal or bone. The stylus would glide smoothly across the surface of the wax, leaving a delicate mark that would soon be recorded for posterity. Each senator's name would be pronounced slowly, their titles articulated with care, reinforcing the respect and decorum expected in such a venerable institution. As the names were called, the senators would respond with a gentle raise of their hands, signaling their presence. This simple gesture, repeated countless times, was rooted in the tradition of acknowledgement and participation. The act of counting, though seemingly mundane, served a critical function in the legislative process. It was a reminder of the importance of presence, participation, and the collective voice of the Senate. While the presiding officer called the names, a scribe would dutifully record the attendance on another wax tablet, ensuring accuracy and transparency. The scribe, often seated nearby, would be equipped with their own stylus, carefully inscribing the number of senators present, as well as those absent, creating a meticulous record of attendance. Each mark on the wax tablet represented a moment in time, a snapshot of governance in action, capturing not just who was present, but also who was missing. The counting process, though repetitive, was executed with precision. Senators would be counted in rows, a method that fostered organization. The rows would typically be arranged according to seniority, a subtle reminder of the hierarchy that existed within the Senate. Each senator, with their unique history and contribution, played a role in this intricate dance of governance. Little by little, the numbers would accumulate as the presiding officer moved methodically through the list. As the counting progressed, moments of quiet would settle in, creating a reflective atmosphere. Senators would take this time to breathe deeply, allowing the gentle rhythm of the roll call to wash over them. The sound of names being softly spoken, punctuated by the light scratching of the stylus against wax, created a soothing backdrop, lulling the senators into a state of calm. Once the counting was complete, the presiding officer would turn to the senators with a gentle smile, the warmth of camaraderie enveloping the chamber. He would announce the total number present, a simple figure that held significant weight in the decision-making process. The acknowledgement of numbers was more than just a tally. It represented the collective will, the shared ambition of governance. Following this, the officer would verify the count with the scribe, ensuring that the recorded attendance matched the spoken numbers. This cross-checking was a vital component of the process, safeguarding against errors that could disrupt the flow of proceedings. Each record would be stored with care, often placed in a designated area of the chamber, where it would remain accessible for future reference. The storage of these records was a meticulous affair. Wooden boxes, crafted from sturdy materials, would often house the wax tablets, ensuring they were preserved for posterity. These boxes, sometimes decorated with intricate carvings, stood as a testament to the reverence held for the written word and the importance of accountability within the Senate. As the senators prepared to conclude their session, the presiding officer would gently signal for silence once more. The chamber, filled with a soft rustle of togas and the subtle creak of wooden benches, would settle into a tranquil hush. The officer would remind the senators of their next gathering. The dates carefully noted in their minds, a schedule that governed their collective responsibilities. Little by little, they would recall the tasks ahead, each step contributing to the larger narrative of governance. Once the session was officially adjourned, the senators would rise in unison, a slow and graceful movement, the sound of chairs shifting and the gentle thud of sandals against the floor echoed softly through the chamber. Each senator would depart in an orderly fashion, their presence noted until the very last moment. The presiding officer would remain behind for a few minutes, ensuring that all materials were neatly arranged and prepared for the next gathering. We just say inui awa kawa. In these moments, the chamber would take on a quiet stillness as the echoes of the day faded into memory. The wax tablets, now marked with the day's attendance, would be stored away, resting until they were needed once more. The presiding officer would gather the remaining tools, placing the stylus back alongside the wax tablets, creating a neat and orderly workspace. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting gentle shadows across the chamber, the presiding officer would take a moment to reflect on the day's discussions. The counting of senators had been a reminder of their shared purpose, a simple yet profound act that affirmed their commitment to governance. In this tranquil space, the echoes of their presence would linger, weaving a thread of connection through the rich tapestry of history. The senators would leave, little by little, until only shadows remained in the once bustling chamber, a serene pause before the next gathering. As the last senator departed, the chamber remained in a soft, contemplative silence. The presiding officer, a figure of steady purpose, turned to the tools that had been used throughout the session. Each item had its place, and every piece had its function. The wax tablets, now filled with neat rows of inscriptions, were carefully gathered. These tablets, made from thin sheets of wood coated in wax, served as the primary means of recording attendance and discussion points. With a gentle touch, the presiding officer picked up the stylus, a simple tool crafted from a slender piece of metal or wood with a pointed end. This stylus was designed to press into the wax, leaving a clear, indelible mark. Each inscription was made with precision, ensuring that the names of those present were recorded accurately. The stylus, resting lightly in the officer's hand, was not just a tool, but an extension of their responsibility. Now, after gathering the tablets, the presiding officer moved to a wooden cabinet, its surface polished to a soft sheen. The cabinet had been constructed from sturdy timber, perhaps oak or cedar, providing a reliable home for the important documents. The officer opened the cabinet doors slowly, allowing the familiar scent of aged wood to fill the air. Inside, shelves were lined with neatly stacked tablets, each bundle tied with a thin piece of twine, ensuring that they remained organized and secure. As the presiding officer placed the tablets inside the cabinet, they took a moment to appreciate the orderliness of the arrangement. Each bundle was labeled with the date, and the names of senators who had attended were written in a clear, methodical script. This method of storage not only preserved the records, but also allowed for easy retrieval when needed. Next, the presiding officer turned their attention to the chamber itself. The tall stone walls, adorned with intricate carvings, seemed to absorb the echoes of discussions held within. Sunlight streamed through the arched windows, casting gentle patterns on the floor, a reminder of the passage of time. The presiding officer walked slowly around the room, ensuring that everything was in its rightful place. The large wooden table at the center of the chamber was a focal point, its surface marred only by the faint scratches of countless meetings. Each scratch told a story, a whisper of the ideas exchanged and decisions made. The table was surrounded by a series of chairs, each crafted for comfort and function. The presiding officer ensured that the chairs were arranged neatly, facing the table as if patiently waiting for the next gathering. Done. As they arranged the chairs, the presiding officer recalled the etiquette surrounding the seating arrangements. Respect for seniority was paramount. The most esteemed senators would always take their places at the head of the table. This practice fostered a sense of order and hierarchy, allowing discussions to flow seamlessly. With the chamber prepared, the presiding officer turned to the small desk located near the entrance. On this desk rested a collection of scrolls, each one containing important laws and decisions that had been debated and refined. The scrolls, made from papyrus or parchment, were rolled tightly, secured with a simple cord. The presiding officer took a moment to ensure that these scrolls were in good condition, flipping through them gently. The ink used on these scrolls was a deep, rich black, made from the soot of burnt wood mixed with water. Each letter was formed with care, a testament to the diligence of the scribes who had transcribed these vital documents. The presiding officer made a mental note to arrange for the scrolls to be updated after the next session. The process of updating these documents was intricate and time-consuming, requiring both attention to detail and a deep understanding of the laws being discussed. As the presiding officer completed their preparations, they turned once more to the wax tablets. The act of recording attendance was not merely a formality. It was a ritual that reinforced the significance of each senator's presence. Attendance was a reflection of commitment, a commitment to governance, and to the collective decision-making process. The presiding officer understood that each name inscribed on the tablet represented a voice, a perspective, and a duty to the state. And, here, I say, Quorum. The presiding officer took a deep breath, allowing themselves to embrace the calmness of the chamber. They reflected on the routine. Every gathering started with the counting of senators. This counting was not just about numbers. It was a moment of pause, a moment of acknowledgement. The presiding officer would stand at the front, eyes scanning the room, ensuring that each senator was accounted for. Once the counting was complete, the presiding officer would address the assembly, welcoming them with a gentle nod. This greeting signified that the session was about to begin, ushering in a period of focused discussion. The presiding officer had grown accustomed to the rhythm of these gatherings, the ebb and flow of conversation, the back and forth of ideas that filled the air like a soothing melody. In those moments, the chamber would come alive, but now it lay quiet, resting in the afterglow of collective effort. The presiding officer paused to listen to the faint sounds of the world beyond the walls. The streets outside were filled with commerce and chatter, but within the chamber, only silence remained. The presiding officer glanced back at the wax tablets, considering the importance of keeping accurate records. The cost of these tablets was modest, yet they represented a significant investment of time and effort. Each tablet could be used multiple times, their wax surfaces smoothed and reshaped with each session. This practice was a reflection of Roman practicality, valuing resources while ensuring that governance remained efficient. How? The presiding officer, satisfied with their preparations, turned to the door. The heavy wooden door, reinforced with iron, creaked softly as it opened. This door had seen countless senators pass through its threshold, each entering with purpose and leaving with responsibility. The presiding officer stepped through the doorway, closing it gently behind them, ensuring that the peace of the chamber remained undisturbed. And all. The presiding officer would now prepare for the next session, a ritual that was as much about organization as it was about connection. Each attendance count was a reminder of the senators' shared purpose, a simple act that bound them together in their duty to serve. The tranquil space of the chamber would await their return, ready to embrace the whispers of governance once more. In May. And so, little by little, the day's work came to a close. The presiding officer would step away from the chamber, leaving behind the wax tablets and scrolls, the chairs and the table, ready to welcome the senators back into its fold. The quiet of the chamber lingered, a serene memory of the discussions held within its walls, waiting patiently for the next gathering. As the presiding officer departed the Senate chamber, a sense of calm settled over the space. The senators would soon return, gathering to partake in the rhythmic cadence of governance. The room, with its high ceilings and polished marble floors, was a vessel for discussion and deliberation. Each element within it served a purpose. Each held a history. And the senators in their togas, each a symbol of their status and dignity, would arrive at different intervals. Some would come early, seeking the comfort of familiar surroundings. Others would arrive at the last moment, their footsteps echoing softly against the ancient stones. The sweet scent of the olive oil lamps would fill the air, a soft glow illuminating the chamber. The presiding officer, upon entering, would first check the wax tablets. These tablets, smooth and blackened with a thin layer of wax, were essential for marking attendance. Each senator's name would be inscribed in a flowing script, their presence recorded with care. A stylus, made from a slender piece of metal or bone, would be used to etch these names into the wax. It was a delicate process, requiring a steady hand and clear focus. Once the tablets were prepared, the presiding officer would arrange the seating. Each chair was carved from rich wood, polished to a sheen that reflected the soft light. Senators preferred their designated spots, often sitting in the same places week after week. This familiarity created a sense of community, a gentle rhythm to the gathering. As the senators arrived, they would greet one another with soft nods and murmurs, their eyes scanning the room for familiar faces. The presiding officer would stand at the front, observing the flow of people as they settled into their seats. This initial gathering was a moment of connection, a brief pause before the formalities began. Once all were seated, the presiding officer would take a deep breath, allowing the tranquility of the moment to fill the chamber. The counting of attendees was not merely a formality. It was a practice steeped in tradition. The presiding officer would begin the process, calling out names softly, one by one. Senator Lucius, they would say, their voice calm and steady. Present, came the reply, often accompanied by a slight nod. And so, little by little, each senator would respond, their voices blending into a gentle chorus. The presiding officer would mark their presence on the wax tablets, ensuring that every name was accounted for. This task might seem mundane, yet it was a foundational aspect of the Senate's operation. The process itself could take several minutes, each name a small piece in the larger puzzle of governance. As the presiding officer continued, they would occasionally pause to take in the room, observing the faces of the senators, their expressions a tapestry of thought and contemplation. Once all names were called, the presiding officer would count the responses, their fingers lightly tracing the inscriptions on the tab. This moment of tallying was crucial. A quorum was required for the Senate to proceed with its business, ensuring that decisions were made with the consent of the majority. The concept of a quorum was simple yet essential. In Rome, a quorum was defined as a minimum of 2/3 of the senators present. This number ensured that a significant portion of voices was represented in the discussions that followed. The presiding officer would double-check the count, ensuring that no name had been missed, no voice overlooked. Should the count fall short, the presiding officer would gently announce the need for additional senators. "We are short of a quorum," they would say, their tone steady and reassuring. This announcement, while routine, carried with it the weight of the Senate's purpose. In these moments, senators might choose to linger in conversation. They would exchange thoughts, ideas, or even share a light meal. The chamber was equipped with small tables where simple refreshments were provided. The scent of bread and olives would mingle with the air, creating a comforting atmosphere. The presiding officer would wait patiently, observing the interactions with a soft smile. The presence of the senators in the room was a reminder of their shared responsibilities, their collective commitment to governance. And as the conversations unfolded, the presiding officer would prepare to recount attendance once more. When the necessary number of senators had arrived, the presiding officer would gently call for quiet once again. The senators would settle into their seats, and the presiding officer would resume the attendance count. "Senator Marcus," they would call, and the familiar back and forth would resume. Paise. There was a certain rhythm to this procedure, a dance of voices and acknowledgement. The gentle sounds of the chamber blended with the soft scratch of stylus on wax, creating a soothing symphony of order. Each name called brought a sense of unity, a reaffirmation of purpose. As the count progressed, the presiding officer would take a moment to reflect on the significance of this gathering. The wax tablets, with their impressions of names, held stories of the senators. Each name was a thread in the fabric of Roman governance, interwoven with history and tradition. The presiding officer understood that this process, although seemingly simple, was a cornerstone of democratic practice. It was a ritual that reminded the senators of their duty to one another and to the people they represented. Once the count was verified and a quorum established, the presiding officer would announce with a gentle tone, "We have achieved a quorum." A soft murmur of acknowledgement would ripple through the room. A collective breath taken together, and the business of more. The Senate could commence. The presiding officer would then proceed to the agenda, a series of scrolls neatly arranged on the table before them. Each scroll contained detailed notes, proposals, and topics for discussion. The presiding officer would unroll the first scroll, allowing its contents to unfold like a flower blooming in the sun. The senators would lean forward, their eyes focused on the agenda, ready to delve into the matters at hand. The rhythmic flow of the session would begin, a gentle wave of dialogue rising and falling, punctuated by moments of reflection and agreement. And so, the mundane yet vital act of counting quorum would serve as the foundation for the Senate's work. Each session would follow a similar pattern, creating a comfortable familiarity, a gentle embrace of routine. The presiding officer, with their steady presence, would guide the senators through discussions, maintaining the calm and order that defined the chamber. The wax tablets would remain close at hand, ready to record each session, each attendance, a testament to the unity of purpose among the senators. Slowly and gently, the meeting would unfold, a steady cadence of voices, ideas, and resolutions. A dance of governance where each senator played their part, contributing to the tapestry of Roman democracy, one attendance count at a time. And as the day wore on, the presiding officer would find solace in this rhythm. The wax tablets, the stylus, the gentle murmurs of the senators, all served as reminders of the steadfastness of governance, the importance of connection, and the beauty of shared responsibility. Every count, every presence, echoed through the ages, a testament to the enduring practice of the Roman Senate. As the senators settled into their assigned seats, a quiet anticipation filled the chamber. Each senator, dressed in their traditional togas, would have their own distinct way of preparing for the day's proceedings. The soft rustle of fabric would blend with the gentle clinking of bronze pins that held their togas in place, a soothing sound that marked the early moments of a session. The presiding officer, positioned at the front near the elevated platform, would take a moment to adjust their own toga, ensuring it draped correctly. This simple act of preparation was both personal and communal, an unspoken agreement that they were ready to begin. Each senator would have their own designated space, a place to call their own during these important gatherings. The wooden benches, worn yet sturdy, bore the marks of countless sessions, each scratch telling a story of debates and discussions past. As the presiding officer's gaze swept across the chamber, they would reach for a small, intricately carved box, often made of cedar or another aromatic wood. This box held the wax tablets and stylus, the essential tools of their trade. The tablets, rectangular and smooth, were carefully prepared, their surfaces coated with a thin layer of wax. Each tablet measured approximately 6 inches by 8 inches, just large enough to hold the thoughts and decisions of the day. The stylus, slender and pointed at one end, was made of metal, often bronze or iron, and would glide smoothly across the wax, leaving behind crisp, clear markings. Wow! With a gentle flick of the wrist, the presiding officer would open the box, revealing the neat stack of tablets inside. The scent of cedar mingled with the faint aroma of wax, creating a calming atmosphere. They would select a tablet, feeling its weight in their hands, placing it before them on the polished wooden surface. This simple act would signal the beginning of the attendance count, an essential ritual that set the tone for the entire meeting. Now, and of tea, iguine tea. Next, the presiding officer would call for attendance, their voice steady and measured. Senators, let us count our number. This phrase, echoing through the chamber, would prompt the senators to respond, each one rising slowly from their seat, one after another, in a methodical fashion. Each senator would stand in turn, casting a measured glance around the room. No, the presiding officer would count aloud. 1, 2, 3. Each number resounded softly, building a gentle rhythm that enveloped the chamber. The senators, standing in quiet solidarity, would listen attentively. The act of counting was not merely a formality. It was a shared understanding of their collective responsibility. As the presiding officer counted, the senators would return to their seats, the weight of their presence adding to the gravity of the moment. The attendance count would often take several minutes, a slow and deliberate process where each senator felt the importance of their participation. In this way, the act of counting quorum became a ritual of unity, a reminder that they were all part of something larger than themselves. Once the count was completed, the presiding officer would take a moment to record the number on the wax tablet. The stylus would move gracefully across the surface, marking the names of those present and absent. This act of documentation was crucial, as it would serve as a reference for future discussions and decisions. The presiding officer would draw a line beneath the names, ensuring clarity and order in their records. Appelez-moi. Yes. After the attendance was confirmed, the presiding officer would gently push the tablet to the side, allowing space for a new tablet, ready to capture the day's proceedings. This process was repeated as necessary, each new tablet representing a fresh chapter in their ongoing governance. The senators, now settled in their seats, would begin to review the previous discussions, the familiar sound of parchment and wax being moved about, providing a soothing backdrop. The presiding officer would then turn their attention to the agenda, carefully laid out before them, each topic scripted with precision. The agenda was often inscribed on a larger tablet, perhaps measuring 12 inches by 18 inches, providing ample space for the details. This larger tablet would outline the topics of discussion and any resolutions that needed attention. Senators would take their own tablets, jotting down notes or thoughts as the meeting progressed. Each stylus would glide over the wax surface, a gentle scritch-scratch sound providing a calming rhythm, echoing their thoughts into tangible records. The soft light filtering through the windows would dance across the tablets, casting gentle shadows that reflected the slow passage of time. Occasionally, a senator would rise to speak, their voice a soothing timbre, sharing insights or suggestions. As they spoke, other senators would listen intently, their heads nodding in agreement or contemplation. This back-and-forth exchange, while seemingly mundane, was essential for building consensus and understanding among the senators. There was a system to their speech, a flow that encouraged collaboration and respect. They say. The presiding officer would often interject gently, guiding the conversation with phrases like, "Let us consider," or "We must reflect on." Each phrase served to keep the discussion on track, a soothing reminder of their purpose. Ow. After a discussion was concluded, the presiding officer would return to the attendance tablets, ensuring that every voice was duly noted. This meticulous attention to detail was a hallmark of Roman governance, an unwavering commitment to documenting the presence of every senator. The atmosphere in the chamber began to shift as the senators grew accustomed to the rhythm of counting and discussion. The presiding officer would take a moment to breathe, allowing the weight of responsibility to settle comfortably on their shoulders. Throughout the session, the wax tablets would accumulate layers of information, each one a testament to the ongoing work within the Senate. The tablets would be stored in neat stacks, often in a dedicated alcove within the chamber, carefully organized by date and topic. This meticulous storage ensured that history would be preserved, that future generations could look back on these records with a sense of reverence. Each tablet, with its unique markings and inscriptions, would tell a story of governance, of deliberation, and consensus. It was a slow process, a steady pursuit of unity and understanding. The act of counting, the routine of recording, and the flow of discussion created an atmosphere of calm reflection and purpose. And so, the senators would continue their work day after day, each session marked by the same gentle rhythms: the counting of quorum, the recording of attendance, the exchange of ideas, and the unwavering dedication to the Republic. This quiet diligence, this art of keeping track of who was present, became a cornerstone of their collective identity, an enduring legacy written in wax and memory. Slowly and gently, the Roman Senate moved forward, guided by the steady hands of its presiding officers and senators, a serene embodiment of the art of governance. As the senators settled into the grand chamber, the atmosphere was imbued with a sense of purpose and routine. The session would commence with a quiet formality, a gentle unfolding of roles and responsibilities. Senators would take their places, each in their designated seat, arranged in a semicircle around the central space. The arrangement of these seats was intentional, promoting an inclusive environment for discussion, while simultaneously facilitating the careful counting of those present. In this serene setting, the presiding officer would begin the process of quorum counting. This essential task involved not only the recognition of each senator, but also required specific tools to assist in the meticulous record-keeping. A simple wooden staff, often referred to as the scepter of attendance, would be held by the presiding officer. This scepter was typically about 3 feet in length, fashioned from polished oak or a darker hardwood, adorned with intricate carvings symbolizing the authority bestowed upon the officer. As the presiding officer raised the scepter, a signal to commence the counting would resonate through the chamber. Slowly and gently, the officer would call out the names of the senators, one by one, ensuring that each name was pronounced clearly and with dignity. Each senator would respond, affirming their presence with a soft murmur or a slight nod, an acknowledgement of the bond they shared within the Republic. The presiding officer would then mark the attendance on a wax tablet, using a stylus crafted from a slender piece of metal, often copper or bronze. This stylus glided over the soft surface of the tablet, leaving behind a series of careful impressions that would serve as a permanent record. Each senator's name would be inscribed in a straight line, methodically listed in order of seating arrangement, allowing for a clear visual representation of who was present and who was not. Beyond the practical aspects of counting, there was a deeply ingrained etiquette that accompanied this process. Senators were expected to arrive promptly, their robes meticulously arranged, the fabric draping elegantly over their shoulders. The colors of these robes often varied, reflecting their social standing or political affiliation. Yet, regardless of color, each senator adhered to a code of conduct, emphasizing respect and decorum during this delicate process of quorum counting. As the list of names grew, so too did the sense of unity within the chamber. There was a palpable tranquility in the air, a gentle rhythm of voices blending into a soft hum. Each senator's presence was a thread in the fabric of the Republic, woven together in this grand assembly. The presiding officer, with a soft gaze, would occasionally glance around the semicircle, ensuring that those who were supposed to be present were indeed there. Nor, if a senator was absent, it was customary for the presiding officer to note the absence, perhaps even pausing for a moment to reflect on the reasons for their lack of presence. This was a small yet significant aspect of the process, as attendance signified commitment to the collective mission of governance. Senators understood the weight of their responsibilities, the importance of being part of the decision-making process. After the initial attendance was recorded, the presiding officer would initiate a secondary count, one that required a more delicate touch. This count involved the tallying of those who had arrived late or who had slipped in quietly. Perhaps after the initial call had concluded, the atmosphere remained calm, as senators would often wait for a suitable moment to raise their hands gently, signaling their presence without disrupting the ongoing proceedings. The presiding officer, with practiced ease, would acknowledge these latecomers with a nod, inscribing their names with the same careful precision as before. Each addition to the roster was met with a collective breath from those gathered, a gentle reminder of the collaborative nature of their work. As the attendance list grew, the presiding officer would slowly close the tablets, storing them in a specially designated alcove, a quiet corner of the chamber where the records were kept. This alcove, lined with shelves made of sturdy wood, housed not only the current tablet, but also a collection of past records, each one a testament to the ongoing history of the Republic. Each tablet was treated with care, the wax surface smoothed and polished with a soft cloth, ensuring that the inscriptions remained legible for future generations. No, the storage of these tablets was not merely a matter of organization. It was a ritual in itself. Senators would often take a moment to reflect on the importance of documentation, the act of preserving history through careful record-keeping. The wax tablets were kept safe, often wrapped in linen cloth, protecting them from dust and wear. This attention to detail reflected the senators' understanding that their decisions would ripple through time, influencing the lives of countless individuals within the Republic. Beyond the physical act of counting and recording, there was an inherent rhythm to the sessions of the Senate. Senators would often engage in soft conversation, exchanging ideas about the matters at hand, discussing proposals and considerations, even as the counting continued. This gentle exchange of thoughts contributed to a sense of camaraderie, underscoring the importance of collaboration in governance. As the session progressed, the presiding officer would often call for a brief pause, allowing senators to gather their thoughts and reflect on the discussions that had transpired. During this time, the chamber would fall into a tranquil silence, broken only by the soft rustling of robes or the quiet scratch of the stylus against the tablets. This quiet interlude was essential, providing a moment for senators to breathe and settle into the rhythm of the proceedings. Slowly and gently, they would prepare for the next phase of their deliberations, fostering an atmosphere of calm and focus. The counting of quorum, the recording of attendance, and the gentle exchange of ideas all blended together, creating a tapestry of governance that was as much about the process as it was about the outcomes. And so, the art of quorum counting continued, a steady heartbeat within the chambers of the Senate. Each count, each record, was a reminder of their shared responsibility, a gentle nudge towards the collective endeavor of shaping the future of the Republic. The senators, with their unwavering commitment, embodied the essence of public service, their daily routines echoing the values of unity and diligence that defined their time. As the senators settled into their seats, the gentle sound of the wooden benches creaking under their weight filled the room. Each senator, adorned in their flowing togas, brought with them the subtle scent of olive oil and incense, mingling together to create a unique atmosphere of antiquity. The ambience was further enriched by the faint echo of sandals softly padding against the marble floor, creating a soothing rhythm, one that mirrored the slow progression of time within the Senate. The senior senator, often the most experienced among them, would take on the responsibility of leading the quorum count. He would rise, his toga elegantly draped across his shoulder, and address the assembly with a calm, measured voice. The senators, in turn, would respond with nods and murmurs of agreement, acknowledging his authority in this mundane yet crucial task. Early in preparation for the count, each senator was required to carry a small wax tablet, a personal artifact that measured about 10 inches by 8 inches. These tablets, once warmed by the heat of their hands, would become a canvas for their thoughts, a place to inscribe names and notes as the proceedings unfolded. The senators would etch their names into the soft wax using a stylus, a slender instrument made of wood or metal, often tipped with a pointed end for writing. The stylus produced a soft scratching sound against the surface of the tablets, a sound that resonated softly in the chamber, creating a backdrop for the quiet concentration that enveloped the room. The senators would take their time, ensuring that each letter was carefully inscribed, forming the names of those present and absent. This meticulous process was both a ritual and a record, a means of capturing the essence of participation in the governance of the Republic. Once the tablets were prepared, the counting could begin. The senior senator would call out names, one by one, checking against the lists inscribed on the tablets. A soft echo of voices would reply, a comforting chorus affirming attendance, as senators responded with gentle affirmations. Present, they would say, in unison, their voices blending harmoniously, creating a rhythm that punctuated the air. Each name called, each response given, formed a delicate dance of presence and absence. In this delicate art of quorum counting, it was important to account for every senator's whereabouts. If a senator was absent, the senior senator would make a note beside that name, perhaps with a small mark or a line, indicating that they were not present for the day's discussions. This process was crucial, as the quorum needed to be met, and the rules dictated that a minimum of at least half of the senators must be present to proceed with any formal business. The nuances of attendance were further complicated by the fact that senators might be engaged in various duties, attending to personal affairs or managing responsibilities in their provinces. Some were often found engaging in discussions just outside the chamber, while others attended to matters of state elsewhere in the sprawling city of Rome. This meant that the senior senator had to keep a mental tally of those who typically attended regularly and those who might have been temporarily absent. Well, the counting of quorum was not merely about numbers. It was about the collective presence of the senators and their commitment to governance. Each senator's attendance reflected their dedication to the Republic. This was a time-honored tradition, steeped in the culture of accountability and service. And so, little by little, the count would progress, each senator affirming their commitment to the process, creating a continuity of participation. As the count continued, the atmosphere remained serene. The senators would occasionally glance around the chamber, ensuring that the count was accurate. This gentle vigilance created a sense of calm, as the senators, in their quietude, seemed to embody the essence of the Republic's ideals. The counting process was not always swift. There were moments of stillness where the senators, deep in thought, would pause to reflect on their contributions or the implications of the discussions ahead. The senior senator, recognizing the need for patience, would allow these moments to linger, fostering an environment of contemplation and respect for the collective wisdom present in the room. Once the count was completed, the senior senator would announce the result. "We have achieved quorum," he would declare, his voice steady and reassuring. The chamber would respond with a soft murmur of relief and satisfaction, a gentle affirmation that they were indeed gathered in service to the Republic. After the count, the senators would return to their tablets, reviewing notes, scribbling thoughts, and preparing for the discussions that lay ahead. The air would fill with the soft sound of stylus against wax once more, as they jotted down points of interest, questions, and reflections. This process was a crucial part of their preparation, a way to ensure they were ready to contribute meaningfully during the deliberations. The atmosphere was one of quiet productivity, as senators focused on their tasks. The soft scratching of styluses and the occasional rustle of parchment created a soothing soundscape, encouraging a sense of tranquility within the chamber. Each senator was engrossed in their own preparations, yet the collective energy in the room remained harmoniously intertwined, united by their shared purpose. As the discussions commenced, the senators would take turns speaking, each contributing to the dialogue with their insights and perspectives. The rhythm of the conversation would ebb and flow, much like the counting process, punctuated by pauses for reflection, questions, and affirmations. The art of quorum counting had not only ensured their presence, but also facilitated a structure within which their voices could be heard, creating a tapestry of ideas that shaped the Republic's future. In this way, the mundane yet crucial practice of quorum counting was woven into the very fabric of Roman governance. It was a routine, yes, but also a ceremony, a profound acknowledgement of their roles as representatives of the people. Each count, each moment of silence, each gentle whisper of affirmation contributed to a greater understanding of community and responsibility. As the senators continued their deliberations, The rhythm of governance pulsed gently through the chamber, a reminder of the importance of presence in the shared venture of shaping history. And so, the art of quorum counting remained, a steady and reassuring presence, guiding the senators through their duties and fostering an environment of deliberative calm. Each day, as the sun rose and set over Rome, the cycle of counting, recording, and discussing would repeat. A tranquil, unending rhythm that characterized the life of the Senate and its enduring commitment to the values that united them all. Slowly and gently, the tradition continued, echoing through the ages, a testament to the power of quiet dedication and collective responsibility. As the senators settled into their seats, a soft rustling of togas filled the chamber. Each senator was draped in the distinctive fabric that marked their status, the rich wool blending shades of white and purple. The atmosphere was serene, yet charged with the quiet anticipation of the counting ritual that would soon unfold. In preparation for quorum counting, an official known as the censor would take center stage. The censor's role involved not only the oversight of citizenship and public morals, but also the meticulous task of ensuring that the Senate was duly constituted. Each day, a small wooden tablet was placed on the central table, a simple yet crucial tool of the process. This tablet, known as the tabula, was blank at the start of each gathering, waiting to be marked with the names of those present. The censor would approach the tablet with a stylus in hand, an instrument made of sharpened bone or metal, precisely designed for inscribing names upon the soft wax surface of the tabula. The stylus tip would glide smoothly over the wax, producing gentle indentations as the letters formed. Each senator's name was carefully etched, a record of attendance that would later be archived for posterity. As the counting began, the senators would settle into a rhythm of acknowledgement. Those present would raise their hands slightly, a subtle gesture recognized by the censor. This gesture was not merely a formality. It spoke to the gravity of their presence in that moment. A sacred invitation to partake in the governance of Rome. The counting process was methodical, a delicate choreography of gestures and sounds. If a senator was absent, the censor would note the absence with a gentle tap of the stylus against the edge of the tablet. This tapping was soft, but it resonated through the chamber, a reminder of those who were not present. Minutes would pass, each second weighted with the importance of ensuring that the quorum was met. The required number to achieve a quorum was generally set at 60 senators, a number that symbolized a united front in the Senate. If the count fell short, the session could not proceed, creating an atmosphere of quiet tension among those gathered. In this way, the censor would often pause, allowing the senators to reflect on the significance of their collective presence. The act of counting itself was not hurried. It was performed with care, each name pronounced softly, reverently, as if invoking the essence of the individual behind it. Caius, Lucius, and Tiberius would echo through the chamber in a soothing cadence, slowly and gently. The names would emerge, one after another, each syllable a thread interwoven into the fabric of Roman governance. Once the counting concluded, the censor would stand still for a moment, allowing the atmosphere to settle before announcing the total. This announcement was made with a steady voice, a calm assurance that the Senate was assembled and ready to discuss the matters at hand. 60 present, or 70 accounted for, would softly fill the air, affirming the collective responsibility of those gathered. In this tranquil environment, the senators were reminded of their purpose, With each passing day, they would engage in discussions that shaped policies, debates that would influence the lives of countless citizens. This was not just a game of hide and seek. It was a profound engagement with the destiny of their society. Nay, I say, After announcing the quorum, the censor would place the stylus down and allow the senators a moment of reflection before the discussions began. This transition was marked by a subtle shift in the chamber. The quiet rustle of togas settling, the soft shuffling of feet as senators adjusted themselves, and the sound of parchment being unfurled in preparation for the deliberations ahead. The tabula, now inscribed with names, would be set aside for preservation, a simple yet vital record of who had participated in the day's governance. It would be stored carefully in a designated place within the Senate chambers, ensuring that each record remained intact for future reference. The censor, having fulfilled this important duty, would step back, allowing the senators to engage in their discussions. As the discussions commenced, the atmosphere remained one of deliberate calm. Senators would refer to their scrolls, crafted from papyrus, each scroll carefully rolled and tied with twine. These scrolls contain the topics of debate, the proposals for law, and the thoughts of influential thinkers. The gentle unfurling of these scrolls added another layer of soothing sounds to the chamber, a soft rustling that accompanied the measured cadence of dialogue. Each senator had their own way of taking notes. Some preferred a stylus like the censor, while others used simple ink and quill, a tool made from the feathers of birds, dipped in black ink, mixed from soot and resin. The ink would flow smoothly onto the papyrus, capturing ideas and arguments as they emerged. This process, too, was methodical, a dance of thought and creation. During the discussions, the senators would speak in turn, each contribution adding to the gentle ebb and flow of conversation. There was a decorum to their speech, a respect for one another that reflected the values of their society. Interjections were rare, with senators waiting patiently for their opportunity to voice their thoughts. As each senator shared their views, the censor would occasionally glance at the tabula, ensuring that all present were engaged in the dialogue, reinforcing the importance of their collective presence. This quiet vigilance added another layer of harmony to the proceedings, a reassurance that the Senate was, indeed, a body of representation. The hours would drift by, marked only by the soft sounds of discussion and the gentle scratching of stylus on papyrus. As the sun began to lower in the sky outside, casting a soft golden light through the open windows, the senators would find themselves immersed in a world of ideas, solutions, and shared responsibility. Through all the counting, all the recording, and all the discussion, the underlying theme remained simple yet profound. The importance of community, the value of presence, and the commitment to governance. Slowly and gently, the mundane yet necessary tasks created a rhythm that defined the Senate, a soothing lullaby of civic duty, echoing through the ages, reminding all of the enduring connection between the rulers and the ruled. One. And so, even in the smallest acts of counting and recording, history was being shaped, a narrative of diligence and cooperation that would resonate long after the last senator departed from the chamber. As the discussions unfolded within the Senate chamber, the act of counting senators took on an almost ritualistic quality. The tools of the trade were simple, yet effective. A stylus made of reed, a tablet of wax, and the presence of attentive scribe. Each senator's entry was marked with a light touch, a delicate scratch upon the surface of the wax, which would later be smoothed over for new records. This process was not rushed. It was measured, steady, and deliberate. Yeah, Binaya, Kaelinia. The tablets, often rectangular and roughly the size of a small tablet of chocolate, were stored in neat stacks on wooden shelves, each marked with the date and session number. The wax surface would allow for easy erasing, making it a reliable choice for the ongoing process of attendance. Senators would arrive in pairs or small groups, their footsteps echoing softly against the stone floor. Ni, Kimni, Niyawe. As they entered, the presiding consul would pause, observing the room, waiting for the gentle murmur of voices to settle. With a practiced eye, he would note the number of senators present. This counting was not just a formality, it was a crucial step in ensuring that decisions were valid, that the Senate could act with authority, and that the collective will was adequately represented. When a senator entered the chamber, he would often greet his peers with a nod or a soft word of acknowledgement. This courtesy was important, a gentle reminder of the camaraderie shared among those present. The senators would take their seats, one by one, settling into the wooden benches, which had been worn smooth over years of discussions and deliberations. The presiding consul would then call for the first count. The room would fall silent, the senators all aware of the importance of being counted. The consul would say, "Senators, please indicate your presence." This was a signal for each senator to raise a hand, a small gesture that would be noted by the scribes. The act of raising a hand, while simple, was imbued with meaning, a collective affirmation of participation. Once the hands were raised, the scribes would begin their careful counting, moving their styluses from one hand to the next, ensuring that no senator was overlooked. This process was methodical, as the scribes would often count aloud, whispering numbers to themselves, reinforcing the accuracy of the count. The counting would be repeated, slowly and gently, to ensure precision. The consul would often encourage another count, particularly if there were doubts about the number. "Let us count again for clarity," he would say, his voice calm and assuring. The rhythm of counting created a soothing atmosphere, a repetitive action that seemed to wrap the senators in a cocoon of shared responsibility. Once the count was confirmed, the scribes would record the number on the wax tablets, writing in soft strokes that would leave a slight indent. The tablets were a tactile reminder of each session, a physical representation of decisions made and discussions held. The senators would watch as the scribes worked, their styluses gliding smoothly across the surface, the faint scent of warm wax mingling with the air. In addition to counting, the scribes also kept track of absences. Each senator who was not present would have a mark beside their name, a gentle reminder of their absence. This record was not punitive. Instead, it served as a reminder of the interconnectedness of their roles. Slowly and gently, this practice reinforced the idea that every senator mattered, and every presence contributed to the larger picture. The atmosphere in the chamber was one of calm focus. Senators would occasionally glance at the sunlight filtering through the windows, casting delicate shadows across the floor. This soft light created a tranquil environment, conducive to reflection and thoughtful discourse. As the session progressed, the senators would engage in discussions that required their collective input. The counting process would punctuate these discussions, with pauses for further counts interspersed among their deliberations. Each pause allowed for a moment of reflection, a chance to gather thoughts and consider the weight of their decisions. The time taken for each session varied, often stretching for several hours, with breaks interspersed to allow for rest and refreshment. During these breaks, senators would step outside the chamber, perhaps into the courtyard. There, they might enjoy a small repast of bread and cheese, or perhaps sip from cups of watered wine. These moments of respite were essential, allowing them to recharge before returning to the counting and discussions. The etiquette surrounding these breaks was as important as the decorum maintained during discussions. Senators would wait for one another, ensuring that no one felt rushed or excluded. This patience fostered a sense of unity, a shared understanding of their responsibilities. Slowly and gently, they would return to the chamber, where the counting would resume, each senator settling back into their designated seat. When discussions reached a point of resolution and decisions were made, the counting took on yet another layer of significance. The final tally would be recorded on the wax tablets, and the scribes would prepare to solidify these decisions in more permanent records for future reference. This transition from temporary to permanent was marked by a sense of solemnity, as the weight of their choices hung in the air. The final count would often be called once more, this time to confirm that all senators were in agreement with the decisions made. The consul would ask for a show of hands again, and the scribes would meticulously record the final numbers. This last act of counting was not merely a formality. It was a collective affirmation of commitment to the decisions that would guide their community. As the session drew to a close, the senators would rise in unison, a slow and deliberate movement, signaling the end of their time together. The presiding consul would offer a few final words, echoing the importance of their collective efforts. The scribes would gather the wax tablets, carefully stacking them once more, ensuring that each record was preserved with dignity. The senators would exit the chamber, their footsteps echoing softly once more against the stone floor. The silence that remained in the chamber would be filled only with the gentle rustle of papyrus and the soft sound of styluses being set aside. In this quietude, the mundane yet profound work of governance continued, a steady rhythm of counting, recording, and deliberation that has shaped the course of history. The art of quorum counting, while seemingly simple, encompassed a world of complexity and care. Each senator present, each count made, contributed to a legacy of civic duty, echoing softly through time, reminding us of the quiet power of presence. How 1-0. In our gentle exploration of the Roman Senate's quorum counting, we delved into the meticulous practices that defined this ancient institution. We slowly uncovered how senators would gather, how they would count themselves, and the various rituals they employed to ensure that enough of their number were present for decisions to be made. Little by little, we painted a picture of a world where the act of counting was not merely functional, but also steeped in the nuances of etiquette and routine. We imagined the quiet tension in the chamber, the soft whispers, the careful tallies, and the ever-present concern of who might be absent, much like a game of hide and seek played in the shadows of history. As you settle into your quiet room, surrounded by the soft embrace of night, let your body relax, your mind rest, and your thoughts drift. If you enjoyed this gentle journey, kindly consider liking, subscribing, or commenting. And remember to turn on loop, so the soothing sounds may carry you into restful slumber.